The city had seen many viral videos before, but nothing prepared them for what they were about to witness. A 15-second clip that would destroy a family's reputation, end a career, and teach a lesson the hardest way possible. This is the story of Tami, a boy who never heard the word no until it was too late. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching this story from. The notification came at 7:42 p.m. on a Wednesday evening. Tami's father, Mr. Adeyemi, was eating dinner when his phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. And again. Within minutes, his phone was vibrating continuously. Messages flooded in from colleagues, friends, even distant relatives. Each one contained the same video link. His hands trembled as he pressed play. There on the screen was his son, Tami, standing in the bright lights of City Mall, his finger jabbing aggressively at an elderly security guard's chest. The old man's face showed confusion and hurt. Tami's voice rang clear, "Do you know who I am? My father will have your job." The video had 3 million views. Mr. Adeyemi's stomach dropped. His wife gasped behind him. "Oh God," she whispered. "What have we done?" The trouble didn't start that day at the mall. It started 12 years earlier, when Tami was just 3 years old. He wanted a red toy car from the store. When his mother said no, Tami threw himself on the floor, screaming until his face turned purple. Other shoppers stared. His mother felt their judgment burning into her skin. 5 minutes of screaming later, she bought the car. Tami stopped crying instantly, a small smile playing on his lips. That smile should have warned her. That was the day Tami learned a valuable lesson, the wrong one. Crying equals winning. Tantrums equal yes. His parents told themselves they were being kind, loving, generous. They didn't realize they were building a monster, brick by brick, tear by tear. By age 7, Tami was already different from other children at Greenfield Primary School. During art class, he knocked over paint jars deliberately, ruining other students' work. The teacher, Mrs. Okonkwo, called his parents immediately. They arrived the next day with a check. "How much for new supplies?" his father asked, pen ready. Mrs. Okonkwo shook her head slowly. "This isn't about money, Mr. Adeyemi. Your son needs to understand consequences." His mother's voice turned cold. "Are you saying our son is a bad child?" The teacher hesitated. "I'm saying he needs guidance." They left angry, convinced the teacher was biased. Tami watched from the classroom window, a knowing look in his eyes. He had learned another lesson: money erases mistakes. Rules were just suggestions. And his parents would always choose his side. The Adeyemi family lived in Tower Heights, a modern apartment complex with a shared courtyard where children played. Tami, now 9, ruled that courtyard like a tyrant. Smaller kids avoided the swings when he was around. He would push them off, laughing as they fell. When 6-year-old Bobo scraped his knee, his mother marched to the Adeyemi's door. "Your son is hurting children," she said firmly. Mrs. Adeyemi crossed her arms. "Tami is just energetic. He has a strong personality. Maybe your son should toughen up." The neighbor left, stunned and angry. That night, Mr. Adeyemi sat on the balcony, watching Tami play roughly with a younger child. His chest tightened with worry. "Honey," he called to his wife. "Maybe we should what?" she interrupted. "He's fine. Stop worrying." He stayed silent, swallowing his concern. That silence would cost them everything. Nori sat in the back row of Class 7, her uniform faded but clean. Her mother worked as a cleaner, her father had passed away, yet Nori studied harder than anyone. She was quiet, polite, and invisible to most students. But not to Tami. He noticed her worn shoes, her second-hand textbooks, her humble lunch. And he decided she would be his entertainment. "Look, everyone," he announced one morning. Nori's shoes have holes. Laughter erupted. Nori's face burned. She looked down, wishing the floor would swallow her. Tami continued. My dog has better shoes than you. More laughter. The teacher tried to intervene, but Tami talked over her. When the bell rang, Nori wiped her eyes quickly. She told herself Tami would grow up, change, become better. She was wrong. He was only getting started. The principal, Mr. Hossan, was a patient man, but even his patience had limits. He had called the Adeyemis to school 5 times in 2 years. This was the 6th. Your son is disrupting classes, bullying students, and showing no remorse, he explained calmly. Mr. Adeyemi shifted uncomfortably. But before he could speak, his wife stood up abruptly. My son tells me teachers here pick on him. Maybe this school isn't suitable for children of our standard. The principal's jaw tightened. Mrs. Adeyemi, Tami needs boundaries, not defense. She grabbed her purse. I think we're done here. Come, darling. As they walked out, Mr. Hossan said quietly to his secretary, that boy will pay a heavy price one day. And those parents will regret this. The secretary nodded sadly. She had seen it before. Children raised without limits always crashed eventually. Always. At 13, Tami had perfected his attitude. He snapped at teachers during lessons. He mocked a bus driver for being poor and stupid. At restaurants, he complained loudly, treating waiters like servants. His parents watched, occasionally uncomfortable, but they never corrected him. Instead, they tipped extra, apologized quietly, and moved on. Money was their universal apology. One Saturday, Tami told his parents he wasn't going to school anymore on Mondays. His mother laughed nervously. Don't be silly, sweetheart. I'm not being silly, he said coldly. I'm tired on Mondays. His father opened his mouth to protest, but his wife touched his arm. Let's not fight today, she whispered. So Tami started skipping Mondays. Then Fridays. His grades dropped, but his parents hired tutors. They threw money at every problem. They never considered that the real problem couldn't be bought away. It was sitting at their dining table, smiling. The community playground sat between Tower Heights and another apartment block. One hot afternoon, Tami arrived with his expensive bicycle. An older boy, maybe 17, was playing basketball. Tami rode straight through the court, disrupting the game. Hey, watch it, the boy said calmly. Tami circled back. Or what? You hit a kid. He laughed mockingly. The older boy just walked away. But Tami wasn't finished. He rode into the boy again, this time scratching him with the handlebar. The boy's hands clenched into fists, but he controlled himself. He simply left. That should have been the end. But Tami's parents had a different version. Some top threatened our son, Mrs. Adeyemi told the estate management. They filed a complaint. The boy's mother, a widow who cleaned offices at night, came to apologize, tears streaming down her face. Please, my son did nothing. Nori was walking past. She saw everything. She would remember. Money, which had always solved the Adeyemi's problems, started becoming the problem itself. Mr. Adeyemi's company was downsizing. His salary was cut by 30%. Bills that once seemed small now felt crushing. Credit cards reached their limits. At night, his parents whispered behind closed doors. We can't keep up with this lifestyle, his father said. We have to cut back. His mother's voice cracked. What about Tami? He's used to, that's exactly the problem. He's used to too much. They never finished the conversation. They were too afraid. One evening, Tami demanded a new phone, the latest model, costing more than his father earned in 2 weeks. Everyone has one, he insisted. His father hesitated. Son, maybe next month, forget it. You're useless. Tami stormed to his room. His mother touched her husband's shoulder. Don't worry. I'll use my credit card. He nodded, defeated. 15 years old and Tami had found new friends. Older boys who skipped school, smoked behind buildings, and bragged about things Tami didn't quite understand but desperately wanted to. They found Tami amusing. Your parents must be rich, one said. Tami shrugged coolly. They're okay. Take us somewhere nice then. So Tami started sneaking money from his mother's purse. He bought them food, paid for arcade games, fed their appetites for expensive things. They called him Big Man. He loved it. One Friday, they invited him to stay out all night. Your parents won't mind, right? Tami hesitated. He had never stayed out overnight. But admitting that felt weak. Of course not, he lied. At 11 p.m., his phone buzzed with his mother's calls. He silenced it. At 3 a.m., she was crying. At sunrise, he came home to find them awake, exhausted. Where were you? They asked. Out, he replied, walking past them. The boys wanted excitement. Let's do something crazy, the oldest one said. They ended up at Brew Haven Cafe at midnight. The place was closed, security lights off. Let's leave our mark, someone suggested. They began throwing stones, breaking windows. Tami felt adrenaline pumping. He picked up a brick. Watch this. He held it through the main glass door. The crash echoed through the empty street. They ran, laughing breathlessly. What they didn't know was that Brew Haven had installed new security cameras the week before. High-definition cameras that captured everything. Faces, clothes, movements. 3 days later, police arrived at the Adeyemi home at 6 a.m. The knock was firm, official, terrifying. Mr. Adeyemi opened the door in his nightclothes. Mr. Adeyemi. We need to speak about your son. Everything stopped. The world tilted. This wasn't a problem money could fix quietly. Mr. Adeyemi had worked at Pinnacle Industries for 18 years. He was respected, trusted, reliable. When police questioned Tami about the vandalism, Mr. Adeyemi called in favors, hired lawyers, begged the cafe owner to settle privately. The cafe owner refused. He needs to learn, the man said firmly. The story reached local news. Teenage vandals destroy family cafe. Tami's face wasn't shown, but his father's name was mentioned. At work, colleagues whispered. Meetings grew awkward. Clients asked questions. His boss called him in. Adeyemi, this situation with your son, it's affecting the company's image. Sir, I'm handling it. It won't happen again. The boss looked uncomfortable. I'm afraid the board has decided, we have to let you go. The words landed like bricks. 18 years. Gone. Mr. Adeyemi cleared his desk in silence. When he got home, he sat in the car for an hour before going inside. Within 3 months, the family moved from their spacious Tower Heights apartment to a small 2-bedroom flat in a less expensive area. The furniture didn't fit. The walls were thin. Neighbors were loud. Tami hated it immediately. This is pathetic, he said, looking around. His mother's eyes filled with tears. His father's jaw clenched. This is what we can afford now, his father said quietly. Thanks to choices that were made. Tami glared. You mean thanks to you losing your job? You're weak. You couldn't even protect yourself. The words hung in the air like poison. His father stood slowly. For the first time in Tami's life, his father looked like he might strike him. But he didn't. He just walked out. Tami felt a strange emptiness, but pride wouldn't let him apologize. That night, he packed a bag. "I'm leaving. I'll stay with friends," his mother begged. He left anyway. Tami bounced between friends' houses for 2 weeks before returning home, too proud to admit he had nowhere else to go. One Saturday afternoon, he went to City Mall, trying to feel normal again. He wore his best clothes, determined to look like he still belonged. At the entrance, an elderly security guard politely asked him to step aside so others could enter. Tami stopped. Turned. "Excuse me." The guard, confused, repeated softly. "Please move to the side, young man." Something snapped. Weeks of frustration exploded. "Do you know who I am?" Tami shouted. "My father will have your job." His finger jabbed the old man's chest. The guard's face showed hurt, confusion. A crowd formed. Someone raised their phone. Tami was too angry to notice. For 45 seconds, he berated the elderly man. When security came, he stormed off. The video was uploaded before he reached the parking lot. By Sunday morning, the video had 8 million views. Comments poured in by thousands. "Disgraceful. Where are his parents? This generation has no respect. Someone find out who he is." By afternoon, someone had. Tami's full name, his school, his parents' names, everything spread across social media. His phone exploded with notifications. Unknown numbers sent him hateful messages. Former friends blocked him. Even the older boys who once called him big man posted, "We don't associate with that guy." At school Monday, no one spoke to him. Teachers looked at him with disgust. During lunch, he sat alone. Someone walked past and said loudly, "That's him. The boy with no home training." Laughter followed. Tami's face burned. For the first time in his life, he understood what Nori had felt. He wanted to disappear. But the internet doesn't forget. Ever. Nori was 17 now, top of her class, and volunteering at Hope Community Center every weekend. She tutored younger children, helped elderly residents, and quietly built the kind of reputation Tami had just destroyed. One Saturday, the center director mentioned the viral video during a staff meeting. "Terrible," someone said. Nori remained silent. She remembered every insult, every humiliation Tami had caused her. Part of her felt he deserved this. But another part, smaller but persistent, felt something else. Pity, perhaps. Or recognition that cruelty breeds cruelty. After the meeting, she stepped outside for air. That's when she saw him. Tami sat on the curb across the street, head down, shoulders slumped. He looked smaller somehow. Broken. The eyes met for a brief second. He looked away quickly, ashamed. Nori stood there, deciding. She could walk away. She should walk away. But something made her stay. Tami needed work. His parents had nothing left to give. He printed resumes, practiced polite greetings, dressed carefully. The first interview was at a phone shop. The manager's face changed when Tami introduced himself. "Wait, you're..." He pulled out his phone, compared Tami's face to the video. "I think we've filled the position." The next day, a restaurant. Same result. "We'll call you." They never did. A week passed. 12 interviews. 12 rejections. Some were polite. Others weren't. "We can't have someone like you representing our business." Tami stopped arguing. He just left quietly each time. On the 13th rejection, something broke inside him. He sat on the bus going home, staring at nothing. Tears came suddenly, surprising him. He covered his face quickly. An old woman across from him looked away, giving him privacy. When he got off, he didn't go home. He couldn't face his parents' disappointment again. Nori saw him sitting outside Hope Community Center on a Tuesday evening. Same curb, same defeated posture. This time she didn't hesitate. She crossed the street. He heard footsteps and looked up. Recognition flashed across his face, followed by shame. He expected mockery. Deserved it, even. Instead, Nori sat down beside him, a respectful distance away. She held out a wrapped sandwich. "You look hungry." Tami stared at it. Pride wrestled with hunger. Hunger won. "Thanks," he muttered, taking it. They sat in silence while he ate. Finally, she spoke. "I saw the video." He stopped chewing. "Everyone did. Why did you do it?" He had no answer. Or rather, he had too many. Because he was angry. Because he'd never been told no. Because he didn't know how to be anything else. "I don't know," he said finally. Nori nodded slowly. The truth in those 3 words somehow said everything. Nori didn't lecture him. She didn't need to. The city had done that already. Instead, she asked a simple question. "Do you know why you are where you are?" Tami's jaw tightened. "Because people can't forgive one mistake." She shook her head gently. "No. Because no one ever taught you limits. Your parents gave you everything except consequences. So you grew into your own worst enemy." The words hit harder than any insult online. Because they were true. Tami felt something crack inside him, something that had been building for 15 years. "Is it too late to change?" His voice was barely a whisper. Nori looked at the community center behind them. Elderly people were arriving for an evening program. Children laughed on the small playground. Normal people living normal lives. "Change is always possible," she said carefully. "But it's painful. And slow. And no one will make it easy for you." Tami nodded. "Can you help me?" Nori considered this. Finally, she stood. "Come with me." The Hope Community Center was busy. Volunteers sorted donated clothes, prepared food for distribution, cleaned common areas. Nori led Tami to the director's office. Mrs. Obi was a stern woman in her 50s who had dedicated her life to helping others. She looked up as they entered. Recognition flickered across her face. "Nori, do you know who this is?" "Yes, ma'am. He wants to volunteer." Mrs. Obi studied Tami for a long moment. He forced himself to meet her gaze. "Why?" she asked bluntly. Tami swallowed. "Because I need to learn how to be better." "Volunteering isn't therapy," she said sharply. "We serve people here. People who have real problems. Can you do that?" "I want to try." Mrs. Obi leaned back. "You earn respect by giving it. Not through money, not through connections, through actions. Can you handle being treated the way you've treated others?" Tami's throat tightened. But he nodded. Mrs. Obi gestured toward the door. "Then start." Tami hesitated at the doorway. This was a choice. His first real one. He stepped through. The first week was agony. Tami cleaned bathrooms he would have sneered at before. He served food to people who recognized him from the video. Some thanked him politely. Others didn't. One elderly woman said loudly, "Isn't he the rude boy from the mall?" The room went silent. Tami's face burned, but he kept serving. "Yes, ma'am. I'm very sorry for what I did." She snorted and turned away. At home, Tami collapsed into bed exhausted, humiliated. Every muscle ached. Every moment had been uncomfortable. His pride screamed at him to quit. "You don't deserve this," it whispered. But a quieter voice answered, "Yes, I do." The second week was harder. A young volunteer, maybe 12, asked innocently, "Why were you so mean to that guard?" Tami had no good answer. I was stupid. I'm sorry. The boy shrugged and walked away. Tami wanted to quit. But Nori's words echoed, change is painful. He stayed. 3 weeks into volunteering, Tami was wiping down tables when he heard a familiar voice behind him. Well. He turned. The elderly security guard from the mall stood there, looking at him with an expression Tami couldn't read. The room went silent. Every volunteer, every visitor stopped to watch. Tami's heart pounded. This was the moment. He could run. He could make excuses. Or he could do what he should have done that day. Slowly, Tami walked closer. The guard stood still, waiting. In front of everyone, Tami spoke clearly. Sir, I am deeply sorry for how I treated you. You were doing your job with dignity, and I disrespected you terribly. I have no excuse. I was wrong. The silence stretched. The guard's face was unreadable. Then, slowly, he nodded. I accept your apology. Relief flooded Tami. But the guard wasn't finished. But understand this, young man. Respect is not bought. It is built. The words settled over the room. The guard's forgiveness didn't erase the video. It didn't restore Tami's reputation overnight. But something shifted. Mrs. Obi started giving him more responsibilities. Other volunteers spoke to him occasionally. Small acts of trust. Tami didn't take them for granted. He arrived early, stayed late, never complained. At home, his relationship with his parents slowly healed. His father found work as a consultant, less prestigious but honest. His mother stopped making excuses for Tami's behavior. One evening, Tami cooked dinner for them. Badly, but he tried. Thank you, son, his father said quietly. Those words meant more than any expensive gift ever had. Months passed. Tami enrolled back in school, repeated the year he had failed. Students still whispered, but he ignored them. He focused on his grades, helped younger students, became invisible in the best way. The city's memory is long, but attention spans are short. Slowly, new scandals replaced his. But the scars remained. Good. A year after the viral video, Tami applied for a job at a small bookstore. The owner, Mr. Evans, was an older man who interviewed carefully. I'll be honest, Tami said. If you search my name, you'll find the video. I was that person. I'm trying to be different now. Mr. Evans nodded slowly. I saw it. I also saw your volunteer work at Hope Center. Mrs. Obi called me. She said you've changed. Tami's eyes widened. She did. She said you're not the boy from the video anymore. Are you? Tami thought carefully. I'm becoming someone better. Every day. But I understand if you start Monday, Mr. Evans interrupted. 8 a.m. Don't be late. Tami couldn't speak. He just nodded. Outside, he called his parents. His mother cried. His father said simply, proud of you, son. It wasn't a big job. The pay was modest. But Tami had earned it himself. Not through his parents' money or connections. Through his own changed behavior. It was the first honest thing he'd ever earned. 2 years passed. Tami worked, studied, and volunteered. The viral video still existed, buried in internet archives, but it no longer defined him. New videos, new scandals had replaced it. The city moved on. Tami did too, but differently. He never forgot where pride and entitlement had led him. One Saturday, he was shelving books when a mother and son entered. The boy, maybe 13, demanded an expensive book loudly. I want this now. His mother looked embarrassed. Sweetheart, maybe next month, no. Now. The boy's voice rose. Other customers stared. Tami watched, seeing himself. He walked over quietly. "Excuse me," he said gently to the boy. "I used to be like you. Always demanding, never grateful. It cost me everything. Don't make my mistakes." The boy looked shocked. The mother's eyes welled with tears. They left quietly. Tami returned to his work. This is why you should never spoil a child. Because a child who never hears no grows into an adult who loses everything. Tami learned this lesson the hard way. Some children don't get a second chance. He was lucky. But the scars never fully fade. They remain, quiet reminders of who he was, and why he can never go back. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next heartfelt story coming your way.